Today's video is all about BLOCX, an all-in-one platform to manage, protect, and earn. Today we're going to be doing an update video trying to figure out whether BLOCX has what it takes to make it to our portfolio. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunity. And the question is BLOCX an opportunity? Guys, we're going to be doing a long-awaited update on the deep dive on BLOCX. It is a great opportunity to check out what the team is up to. It's been a while and they've been working really hard. Full disclosure, this is a sponsored update on BLOCX, and we're going to be looking into some of the details with regards to the update that happened just recently with the blockchain. Okay, let's begin by scraping through the website, trying to get a feel of what the project is. If you're new to the project, a bit of an introduction might be really useful. It's an all-in-one platform to manage, protect, and earn. As I mentioned, no more juggling multiple tools with BLOCX. Desktop, you can manage everything securely and effortlessly while earning passive income. So there's a bit to offer here, right? Obviously, everybody wants to earn a bit of passive income. That's great, of course. And then at the same time, what is the core utility? The core utility is an all-in-one platform. So let's see what that really means. You can see that you can download a desktop version of their software, and their software, offers many little tools, and of course, a growing toolbox. Let's talk about what's going on here. Community size, partners, malware database, nodes, and features. Lots of little features, like it's a Swiss Army knife for your desktop, which again, we're going to talk about this in a little bit more detail here as I scroll through the website. By the way, the website is well developed in the sense that it's clear, concise, lots of information, tons of information. For example, if you want to know exactly what that desktop offers, you can see that we have a lot of information here. Non-custodial wallet, of course, taking full custody of your capital, malware protection, so an antivirus of sorts, a device health to make sure that your machine is working at its best, internet services, AI assistant, password vault, monetization, the ability to earn passive income like we mentioned, and obviously you have the ability to learn more. Guys, I highly suggest that you do a little bit more research here. Deep dive is obviously a great way to learn about the fundamentals about any project, particularly one that offers a lot of information, such as BLOCX. It makes deep dives very easy. So go check out their documentation. We'll scrape through the documentation shortly in a bit, just to kind of look at the main ideas here. So Gridbox, their secondary or additional feature that they got going on here, and this has a lot to do with the update that came out or is currently in the rollout phase, in the sense that Gridbox is one of their value propositions. So what is it? It's basically turn your unused GPU and CPU power into passive income, contributing to a DePIN protocol, essentially. So rent and lend your power, earn extra money without effort, and basically they provide the guidance to get all of this started, guys. I'll show you that in a second, but generally speaking, that's what it is. That's what Gridbox offers. Okay, so let's keep on going. Safety layer of DePIN, simplify complex tech with a powerful, ease to use feature design and secure manage your digital life. So as I mentioned, they're trying to contribute to that DePIN infrastructure. Good stuff there, and the ability to monetize and safety and manage your way through this, which is good. And then you can see the BLOCX ecosystem, right? The whole package, as I mentioned, there's a lot of things, little tools, and I'm assuming that we're going to get a lot more tools in the future. It's like a one-stop shop, desktop, essentially, for all the little tools that you may need on a daily basis for the average individual, not just main techies in the space, in the crypto space, or in the tech space, or in the tech industry. For every individual, including yourself and myself, that we're looking for all these little services and tools that we use on a daily basis, BLOCX has you covered, essentially. Quite interesting, and mind you, in a decentralized fashion. Okay, that's important. Run a BLOCX a validator node and earn passive rewards. This starts to stem or lead into what I want to talk about. Really, is the main upgrade or the main shift that they had from proof of work to proof of stake, something that we do need to talk about because it opens up a plethora of opportunity and obviously a lot more opportunity for the blockchain itself. Help secure the blocks network and earn consistent rewards by running a validator node. By operating a blocks node, you will contribute to the network security as per usual when you talk about proof of stake, speed, and privacy while earning passive income. All good stuff. We'll talk about that in a second. The roadmap. So much detail here, which I appreciate. It looks like it needs a bit of an update given that it kind of ends here in 2023. So we would like to know exactly what's happening. Good news is that I'm going to give you a bit of an update myself today, talking about where they're going with things in the next little while. So stay tuned towards the end. As usual, I do have that infographic that I make and I distribute throughout the socials. So if you want to get your hands on that infographic, check it out on X, and I'll have it on all my socials regardless. So be prepared for that one. In addition, if you're looking for liquidity, Mexi, Gate, Coinstore, CoinX, and a few others joining the team. We're going to talk about that in a second. We got a few more listings coming around the corner, so that's really healthy. Obviously, it helps the exposure of the token, of the coin. Blocks getting exposure is healthy, and in addition to that, obviously provides that liquidity that we need to start trading and buying and selling. It's always healthy to have a good amount of liquidity out there in the market. Learn more. Obviously, lots of learning material, which is great, guys. This is not a complete deep dive, but it is a great update to what has been happening here in the last little while with regards to blocks. And you see that concludes the website. It is a very established website, which I appreciate. You can see you get access to white paper, conditions, and many other agreements and so on, and explore web wallet extensions. You can contact support, marketing. I'll let you know this. The founder is definitely available on socials. The dude makes himself available for questions. If you're interested in asking anything, the community's there. They got a full marketing team ready to go. And I appreciate what the team, a small team, is offering right here because they're full on full force. Look at their socials, way stacked. I've never seen so many social links on a website before from a blockchain solution. So pretty cool to see that they're putting their best foot forward, and I appreciate that approach 100%. All right, guys, let's jump right into some of the documentation. I'm not going to go through this in great detail, but I'm going to highlight the important things that have been happening here in the last little while with regards to blocks. As you know, I've already given you a few updates in the past about the project, and so far we are appreciating it. Of course, the market is waiting to give us a bit of relief with regards to price action, but we're not focusing on market price action right now. What we're focusing on is the fundamentals, because technically speaking, if a project, if a team is offering a software solution that solves real problems or gives us some utility or value, a value proposition that we're willing to essentially get involved with, the future will show positive price action. So we got to look at these utilities and these, value propositions that they offer. So overview of blocks. I think this is key. This is critical. Mind you, all of this is available on their website and all their documentation. So blocks is redefining basically itself, and it allows you obviously to get complete control, security, flexibility in today's connected world. Okay, that's great. But what really is important here from a tech perspective is that the way it changed from proof of stake to proof of work, which is so important, guys. So we talked about a little bit of this and their flagship product, of course, the desktop, and then their secondary product, which is Gridbox, the ability to earn passively by sharing your processing to a network, which is important. And the desktop is all those little tools that we talked about, okay, which is important. Now we start looking at, what happened, the introduction. This is what happened. Blocks is a layer 1 blockchain platform designed to seamlessly integrate Web 2 and Web 3 experience, of course, right? But originally was built on a UTXO blockchain similar to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a UTXO model, and many others that are out there that are proof of work. Now, there are some limitations from proof of work. Some people like it, some people don't, or it's just a matter of difference. It's not just that necessarily one is better than the other per se. There's benefits and there's negative aspects on both approaches. However, in this case, Blocks has identified an opportunity here to basically transform itself to proof of stake just for a few facts. And these facts are very valid, guys. And a lot of blockchains are currently looking for EVM compatibility. So that's the main focus, in my opinion, as to why the conversion. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So basically, they're transitioning to an Ethereum virtual machine compatible chain so they can fully support the applications that are built on the Ethereum ecosystem. Guys, that is so valid because of ecosystem growth, number one. The ability to have cross-chain capabilities amongst other EVM compatible chains is epic. Obviously, this is a common factor across many chains at the current moment. But not only that, to attract liquidity, to be able to easily, without friction, attract liquidity, because we know that Ethereum has a lot of liquidity on its chain, and this way, Blocks has access to it very easy, seamlessly. And I think that is a very strategic, obviously, decision. It's a smart decision, an understandable decision, very explainable. Proof of stake in Blocks. So basically, proof of stake consensus mechanism. It's a adopted secure proof of stake mechanism. This approach enables users to become validators. So this is where now the concept of validator comes in. Okay, thereby participating in transaction and validation, and you get rewards for being a validator. And it becomes quite easy to become a validator here with Blocks. So it's quite interesting. Efficiency while reducing energy consumption compared to traditional proof of work systems. Now, of course, we know that proof of work systems have become very efficient in comparison to the past, but never as much as proof of stake. But still, you know, that whole concept of proof of work is still efficient enough for the fact that you get decentralization in other aspects, right? So when the transition happens, we have to basically come up with a reason for that transition. And their primary reason is, let's get as efficient as possible. So enhancing the network security by having validators and obviously decentralizing its validators, having many validators across the world will decentralize that concept. And then having the efficiency that a proof of stake system offers is definitely a viable, you know, decision. So pretty good there. You know, a lot of proof of stake projects do exist. Requirements to become a validator. So in this case, there's not much friction other than you just must stake 100,000 of Blocks coins. That's pretty much that you really need to do. They walk you through the setup. You can see that there is a setup, but there's some little details that are quite nice. Their lockup period is only 10 days. Up to lockup period before the coins become available are only 15 days. So basically, after 15 days, you get your tokens out. So unlocking or unstaking from the validator is fully liquid, but the thing is that you just have to wait 15, other blockchains are 30-day period, which means that, you know, it's a little bit better here, obviously. Introduction of proof of machine. Okay, this is interesting because this has to do with their secondary product, the Grid Box, which is the platform of which you can share your processing power, allows to rent your GPU power for tasks such as AI, computations, rendering, and cloud computing. That whole DPIN utility is part of the package. So this is pretty interesting. Network statistics, performance, and so much more good stuff here. And the economics is quite interesting too. We got 70% allocated to validator nodes participating in the proof of stake system and the machine proof of machine mechanism right here. This is interesting. Obviously, you get rewarded. And notice the 70% is allocated to validators. 70% allocation, 20% for GPU. And obviously, we're going to talk about this in a little bit more detail soon. But you can see that this now gives total incentive to become a validator and basically decentralize the whole validator network, which is great. And there's some other distribution here, as you can see, for treasury and marketing efforts and so on and so forth, which is a minor part, guys. I do appreciate when we think about, you know, the cost of running things here, because we want to be well funded as Blocks grows and does its thing. So pretty good stuff here. 100% of the fees are burned permanently, reducing total supply of Blocks coins, which is kind of what we need here. We got to make sure that we're deflationary. Not bad, definitely not bad of a scenario. Okay, we're going to go through a couple more things, and then I'll do my summary with regards to some of the value of the upgrade and some additional points. Coin details, let's see what we got here. By the way, guys, this Git book is well developed. As you can see, there's lots of information here with regards to tokenomics. Sometimes it's so hard to get the information that you need when you do deep dives. So I can see so far with my first glance that they do offer a lot of the details that you need. You can see the transaction per second, the block time, and so on. It's with so many validators, you're going to get that speed increase, which is good. The chain rewards, as we talked about, very healthy, very giving for validators 70% and Gridbox contributors 20%, which is good. Mission schedule, if you want to get into that, how the tokens are actually going to be emitted into the market. This is great. The schedule is right there. And the team vesting is not much, but here it is. If you want a little bit of transparency here, as you can see, each cycle pre-mine, and each cycle, basically the team gets, a bit of the tokens. Obviously, everybody's got to eat. So that's the reality. Getting started. If you want to become validator, okay, this is where things now are important. Is if you want to get involved in this new structure that they have going on here, they have for full support below, as you can see, the complete walkthrough instructions on how to get this done. You can get into it, a Linux server, prerequisites, you can see on Ubuntu or later operating system root or sudo access to the server, and so on, dedicated IP address, basic knowledge, command line, and Linux administration. And you can see they basically help you through it and what the hardware requirements are as well. So go check into it if you like it. You can give it a shot. Personally speaking, it's a great opportunity even to learn about what all this process is with regards to becoming a validator, if you're into this back end type of stuff with regards to crypto and all of that. So good stuff. Installation process, you can see literally step by step by step, they give you what you need to get to gain that success and become a validator. And then you monitor your node and so on. You can see they give you those details. Node maintenance, because a node needs to be maintained with the updated software as the consensus mechanism maybe gets tweaked or whatever the case is. The node maintenance needs to be monitored and so on. So of course they give you all of the information you need, and that's pretty much it. Troubleshooting, frequently asked questions, and so on and so forth, guys. So lots of stuff. You want to know more about the Gridbox. If you want to add a machine, you have a computer that might not be using its GPU or CPU processing power all the time, and you want to earn some passive income, they walk you through exactly what you need in order to get started here. I think this is very valid. This is a very common thing across the space, contributing your unused processing power to achieve a greater or bigger goal, maybe renting it out to machine learning or whatever the case may be, language learning models, and AI, of course, in general, is very hungry for processing power. So this is very interesting. Obviously, if you're interested in that passive, so you got two opportunities to basically earn passively reward systems. This is great. This is it. Rent a machine and so on. If you want to actually get involved in rent a machine for whatever purpose you may need, it's right here. And they got a bridge, for ERC20 and back and forth, and the Ledger guide. If you want to get on Ledger, you can see Ledger guide documentation. Always keep your crypto in a cold storage, guys. Do yourself a favor, keep them safe. Sometimes you learn the hard way. Unfortunately, those tuition fees are not cheap, so you got to make sure you get yourself on a Ledger. Now we're going to talk about why this is important, or why this is relevant. And because now we are EVM compatible, this opens up a whole plethora of opportunity with regards to safety, wallet storage, and so on. Guys, let's look at the review. Let's look at the infographic that I got for you guys. Let me quickly position this nicely in the screen for you. Okay, obviously, as I told you, I'm going to have this readily available on the socials if you want to see this on your own, and you can kind of review this as a little bit of a cheat sheet if you want to ever get an update of what BLOCX BLOCX is doing. So obviously this video is sponsored by BLOCX. Guys, the team is definitely hustling to produce and release and get their stuff going, which I appreciate. I always like to see teams that are aggressive and try to make updates and you know, take things seriously despite the price action. I know in the last little while the market hasn't been treating us really well, but it doesn't matter. You know, you got projects like this doing their thing. We're all good. So description. You know, the description of the project, they're still offering a value proposition as they embarked on in the past. Their message is this: they want a fully decentralized desktop platform, combining smart contracts with Gridbox. Okay, so this is important because without smart contracts, you have limitations of what the blockchain can do, right? And you want to have intelligence. Now, we compared its old model, the UTXO model, with Bitcoin, and we know Bitcoin is amazing at what it does, right? But it's limited to what it does. If you want your let's say project to do more, you need to have a smart contract based platform. And in this case, their strategic move from a UTXO model to a smart contract based model, which is the EVM compatible, you know, blockchain, is what the easiest, more frictionless opportunity that a developer can do. The ecosystem is big and so on and so forth. So this is where it's at. It's a GPU based computing marketplace, which is, of course, gives you the opportunity to sell your GPU computing power. Users can manage assets, protect data, and earn effortlessly by renting out GPU power, like I mentioned, for various reasons. It doesn't only have to be AI. It could be for rendering graphics, for gaming, whatever it is. And for this is obviously been one of the hottest topics in the last year or two in this space, one of the hotter narratives, which is the DePIN narrative. Supporting EVM compatible based applications, there's a plethora. The largest ecosystem out there is Ethereum based ecosystem, which means that BLOCX wants to be a part of that ecosystem, giving it lots of value there, of course, that network effect and that access to liquidity and so on and so forth. So that really at the current moment, those real world tools that it could offer to the EVM is massive. This is a massive opportunity for BLOCX. Passive income and scalable innovation. Cool stuff. So that's my description there. Now let's quickly jump right into the roadmap. I'm gonna just kind of highlight this. Let me put this to the side. The roadmap, guys, they got a lot happening in the next little while. Okay, so this is, you know, because it's in the works right now, this is like hot off the press type of scenario. We have to understand that a lot of these dates are a little bit, give it some wiggle room, guys. You know, if you know this industry and if you've been around, don't expect precision as far as when things are going to happen. We're not expecting, you know, deviations of months and years, but, you know, within a couple of days or weeks, be prepared that these targets will be hit. 2 exchange listings within 2 to 3 weeks, give or take. Okay, that's great because, again, more liquidity, more access, more distribution, let's say, for the token, which is good, or the coin. Desktop final release. Okay, so their main software solution, they're going to have their final release within 2 to 3 weeks. Okay, they have it already available for download for Windows, you know, to try out and all that, but they're slowly, obviously, developing and creating and building and so on. So their final release, 2 to 3 weeks. Gridbox final release, more or less 6 to 7 weeks. So again, all of this is coming together within the next few weeks, guys. And this is why an update here is absolutely critical, because once you start to see these pieces build together and fall into place, we're going to see BLOCX establish itself fundamentally with a great foundation. So prior to foundation, before we actually see all of this settle, we get the opportunity to kind of reflect on its value proposition and its future value proposition and speculation. Okay, so this is important here. If you're an investor, if you're looking for projects that haven't really hit the map yet, this is where we're at. We're talking about small cap project here. Third, exchange listing, which means, and it's supposed to be a bit of a bigger exchange listing. We're waiting on more information there. I'm going to keep it a little bit vague here for now, but you know, 6 to 8 weeks there. So again, within the next little while, we'll see some major exchange listings, which is good, and some major updates to their core value, which is their software solution. So great stuff there. Now, end of year, okay, desktop final release on all main platforms, Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. Guys, that's where it's at. That's where you're going to start to see the real network effect, because again, platform-based compatibility is super important. Although, Mac and Windows are the most popular, you need to have both nowadays. The market share is about 50-50, let's say, and ultimately they identify the need to be cross-platform. So I appreciate that, and they got a lot going on here right now on their roadmap, which is awesome to see the team very, very active. Now let's continue here. The update, we kind of talked about the update. Now, I'm not going to reread this or go through it again because we talked about the EVM and all the applications and all of that. So I'm just going to have it here for your reference for future if you just want a quick update. Now, let's get into a bit more of those details, because this is where we start to talk about how does proof of stake work, or maybe what are the value propositions of becoming proof of stake, and what are the details behind each point of the update, and how does it provide value? Why? What is the motivation or purpose of those updates? So obviously speed, guys. We're increasing block times to 3 to 5 seconds, and we know that speed is important in this space. I would say that this is the season of speed. We've seen many blockchains this cycle come out with the concept of speed. And we need, in order to see a competitive blockchain, we need to be competitive with with what's the trend is. And the trend this cycle has been speed. All the new L1s coming out lately have focused on that. So I'm glad to see that they realized in order to pivot and to, be a front runner in that game, into the L1 scenario, obviously not being an L1 is totally fine. But in this case, an EVM compatible blockchain is important. In this case, using the Ethereum virtual machine is, necessary, but at the same time, we need speed. So this is it, 3 to 5 seconds, block time's perfect. Old block time was 60 seconds. So you can see why the transition was necessary. It was too slow for modern applications, of course, especially competitively. You need to keep up. So it's it. Blocks is now in line with the leading chains, and all of that. And also, again, EVM. So that's great. Proof of machine. So basically, this keeps the GPU owners involved and earning rewards. So before, when you have proof of work, right, you were getting rewards for validating and issuing new blocks to the chain. Fine. But since that now does no longer exist, how could individuals that have machines still lingering around, how do they put them to work and still earn? So this ability to put your hardware to work and earn is still here through the grid box. So instead of using your GPU to, mine new blocks and getting blocks on the chain, now essentially you're giving that GPU power and providing it to a DPIN, to DPIN protocol. So this keeps GPU owners involved and earning rewards. And even though mining is ended, it ensures hardware stays productive and incentives decentralizations of computing power. This is it. This is the solution. This is their way of just keeping everybody involved and content with regards to being able to use their hardware actively. Guys, they thought about it. That's great. Now, rewards, interesting. 70% of the rewards go to validators. So what does that mean exactly? Let me just push this over a bit. What does this mean exactly? So, before you were getting rewards for proof of work, adding blocks to the chain. Now, essentially, you're earning the rewards via validator, nodes, 20% to grid box GPU hosts. So there's two ways to earn here passively. You can see 70 plus 20, that's 90% completely towards rewards. Guys, that's very healthy, giving people incentives to basically provide their computing power. In addition to securing the network, providing 70% to securing the network through validators. And what they really want to do is incentivize global, adoption and basically have validators across the world decentralizing that whole concept. So right now, I think they're at about 350 active validators, if I'm not mistaken, the last time I checked, which is pretty decent. I'm expecting, based on this reward structure, that many people will find the incentive to get more involved. Validators secure the new proof of stake chain, while GPU host keeps the decentralized computing marketplace alive. So that's great. Splitting the rewards this way ensures both critical parts of the ecosystem thrive, and again, the incentive to keep going is here. right? Pure rewards. So I appreciate that. Thinking about the final, the end game is important, right? Rewards. Tokenomics. So this is also important because we get a bit of a change here, a bit of a shift. 50% of the transaction fees will be burned and 50% locked for future rewards, which is interesting because technically 100% of it will be, given away. Essentially, we're getting rid of it, which is interesting, of course, is necessary. This approach counters inflation and creates a deflationary pressure benefiting holders while still funding ecosystem growth. So what happens here is that would be nice to see tokens systematically exit circulation, right? Because then, therefore, demand, if demand at least remains constant, let's say, and obviously the supply decreases, when there's less supply, the price should change because now it's more rare. There's not as many in circulation. Now, when new tokens enter the market, you get that sense of dilution. And that sense of dilution basically reduces the value of each individual token, which is not a good thing. And then if you lock up 50% and you give it out for rewards, which means that now you're funding ecosystem growth, I think that's valid. Ecosystem growth is so necessary here, guys. Very, very necessary, especially with a small chain such as BLOCX, okay? The lockup, which is what we talked about a little bit. Now, if you're locking your tokens in a validator, what's interesting is that you only have to wait 15 days in comparison to others. Other blockchains, proof of stake chains, require about 30 days. This scenario gives you quick access to your funds. And again, that's very valuable. We want to be liquid in this space as much as possible and as quick as possible, of course. And then last but not least, EVM. So I know I've peppered in this concept throughout this video, and I just want to, end it here in the sense that we want to talk about the value of becoming EVM. Now, I know a lot of us lately haven't been the happiest with EVM or Ethereum-based projects, and, of course, because EVM, Ethereum itself as an L1, has been struggling keeping up with the newer, speedier, cheaper blockchains. Ethereum Virtual Machine, however, is still a very valid part of any tech stack, especially from a language or a contract-based system. If you're trying to write a smart contract and you know Solidity, you're able to get into the biggest ecosystem of smart contract platforms out there, which is very important because the network effect that EVM, the virtual machine, has is the largest, which by default should attract a lot more blockchains. If you want to basically be able to communicate across many chains that are EVM, you better be EVM as well, right? If you want to be able to attract liquidity easily, frictionless liquidity from other blockchains, you better be EVM as well, right? So the incentive of being EVM is still there regardless of what Ethereum as an L1 is doing. Its tech stack, its virtual machine is what is providing the most value currently for this space. So their transition to it is very strategic, right? Because there's a lot of applications, decentralized applications on the Ethereum virtual machine. Obviously, it allows token creation, which is what we've been seeing since the beginning of Ethereum, the ability to release a smart contract and provide liquidity to your own token, which is great. Launch pads and automation. And guys, what's epic, of course, is the fact that you can use all the most popular EVM compatible wallets, such as MetaMask, a staple in this space. So if you want to put your BLOCX tokens on MetaMask, you can now do that. So remember, old UTXO blockchains don't really offer, they don't offer MetaMask capabilities. And not only that, there's no smart contracts. So it's a bit of an issue. Now, there are UTXO models coming out with smart contracts. We know that is a hotter topic in today's, cycle, of course. But we're talking about the reality of the mainstream. The mainstream is EVM. Guys, that if you want mass adoption and you're looking for that network effect, definitely EVM. And EVM will encourage growth, essentially, because you have that ecosystem or that network effect. Okay, so guys, BLOCX is definitely working here. Definitely working. They're doing what they got to do to succeed in this space. And you can see updates like this show you that the team is active, ready to go, and make some real value and offer value propositions that maybe we should be thinking about. Guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor. If you want to support, slap the like button, do all those good stuff. I got links in the description for you guys if you want to get more information. And of course, guys, I'm live every single night. Feel free to join. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.